Hey, this is Heidi Lynch.
And I'm Perry Voss. And this is Avocado Toast, the series podcast.
Our web series was inspired by our real-life experiences.
The great ones.
And the heartbreaking ones. And our podcast series is inspired by the community around us. The people we collaborate with. The people who lift us up. The people who listen when things aren't going so well and celebrate when things are.
And in our podcast, we wanted to reach out and chat with other artists and creators to find out what makes them tick. What inspires them?
What drives them?
What brings them joy?
We hope that they inspire you as much as they inspired us.
Enjoy.
Hi, Elena.
Hi, Heidi. Yes!
We did it. We made it work.
We did it. I can see your pretty face.
Yes, and I can see yours. It has been so long. You guys may recognize my wonderful friend here, Elena, from Open Heart, Schitt's Creek, Hudson and Rex. She's also, if you didn't know, a Jessie Award winner for Best Actress, a Dora-nominated Best Actress, and an incredible musician, recording artist, has the most beautiful voice in the world. You can listen to her album on Spotify, and I'm going to be super honest. I have a very sexy, special person on an airplane right now coming to me. And I did a little shower happy dance listening to Let Me Love You on your Spotify playlist.
Oh my God. You have no idea how happy that makes me.
Very sexy
Were you
song.
sexy singing?
Yes.
Hey, thank you. It's so funny because I wrote that song waiting for my husband to come home.
Oh,
like I stayed up late.
Perfect.
Because we kept missing each other. Like we just moved in together, but then we never saw each other because our schedules were different. I'm like, well, what's the point of this?
Yeah. So
I just stayed up late. So I'm like, screw it. My sleep pattern is going to be weird. I'm going to stay up late. And then I wrote that song when I was waiting for him to come home.
Yeah.
Like,
you have to sacrifice sleep and your sanity to be two, highly successful people working in a relationship or doing long distance in my case.
Distance. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just been a
Waiting for
thing.
Sexy times. Hi.
Yep.
We need sexy times.
I'm not going to lie. Yep. So I'm happy to do this interview with you too, just because I love actors who play completely against type. And your character Kale in Jann is so, I wonder if people who know you even better than I do find it as satisfying. But when I watch you do that part, even when we were like reading your audition lines and I was just like, there's a whole side of you that I had never seen. And when I watch the show, because I know how bubbly and sweet and warm and engaging you are in real life. It's so satisfying to watch you play this like monotone character.
It is.
I mean, Kale has a heart of gold, but it's just so.
Yeah. It's so freeing. And I was thinking that about yourself. Like I watched the first few episodes of Avocado Toast. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But it's the same thing. Like if you feel the same way, like your character is like so insecure. Like when she's like teaching sex ed and French is like, bonjour. I was like laughing so hard. It was so satisfying. But you're not that either. Like if you're so articulate, like you stood up for me at times and you know exactly like what's going on, you know what to say. But there is something like the both of us, like our characters, that it's so freeing and like, yeah, like Kale like makes me want to be like more go after what you want, unapologetic, not care what people think. I love her so much, and she's the best thing to play. I love her.
I love that. That was going to be one of my questions. Too. Oh God, yeah. If she rubs off on you, because I had the opposite experience with Molly. Like I wrote her, but then I was just like, it was. This sounds so self-aggrandizing, but it was validating sometimes because I was reacting like Molly would in a situation, and inside I was going like, I'm so happy that I'm not passive aggressive. Like I'm so happy that I'm a direct communicator. I wouldn't be able to live in this like.
Did you ever want to shake her and be like, "Come on, Molly"?
Yeah. And then when she finally tries to, at the end of the season, ruining it for everyone, it doesn't go very well. But
and I haven't finished the first season of it.
Yeah, but no, it was super.
You just saw my pajama pants as I crossed my legs. We're wearing pajama pants. I was just like, oh, they won't see. And then I just literally
I'll let everyone know I put on full pants for this. I'm a professional. Put on full pants. I'm just kidding.
These are pants that I got in Calgary and Banff. They're my Black Bear. I just like didn't want to. I was just like, no, like I feel good right now.
Yes, be cozy.
We were talking about like you wanted to like come on, Molly, come on. There's some moments like that with Kale, which you'll see in the season finale, where there was like one thing, like her and Jann are just like, and there was a moment in season finale where I was like, oh God, Kale, like, come on, girl. But there's just so much to unpack with her, you know. I'm hoping that we see more of that in season 3 to come. I hear you got like the inside scoop with
Nilu. So I had a great chat with Nilu, and
she's the best.
She's so great. We were really lucky to get her, very lucky to get her to come play Rosie.
And she was awesome, like her character in Avocado Toast too, like so, because she plays Sage in Jann. Like there was a scene in the first season where the two were just staring at each other, and she's like this other Kale thing. So it was just like we just like hated each other. Her energy is so amazing, and her writing is fantastic. Like she wrote one of my favorite episodes like this season, which is the Katie Lang episode. Can you imagine?
Oh my God, it was so funny.
And Katie Lang was hilarious. Yeah. And so she like, I've told her like, I owe you my firstborn child, because Kale was originally written for a white man. Like he was going to be a dude. And Nilu was like, no, she needs to be a woman. She needs to be a woman of color. Like she's the one who like changed, like was in the writer's room and was like, no, we got to make her like this. Yeah. And so, yeah, I owe her my firstborn.
Yeah. I mean, it's wonderful that she did that. And it's also wonderful that you guys share that story, because I think, you know, I can only speak to being a woman, but in those settings, sometimes it must be scary to raise your voice and to use it, but how important it is to use it to create opportunities for other women or marginalized groups, and how.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and I've benefited from it. I mean, we do actually have, it's mostly women in the writers room. We have one man, Mike McFadden, who's hilarious. And the rest are women, but she's the only like person of color in the room. And so she like advocated for actors like me, and that's how you make it. I mean, the more diverse your writer's room can be, the more perspectives and experiences, just the script gets so good.
Yeah.
So I'm so proud about that.
Absolutely agree. So there's a multitude of reasons why I wanted to bring you on the podcast. You're a very funny woman. You're a woman in comedy, because they exist. You also, you know, you have been wonderfully supportive of Avocado Toast and me, and you are of many people.
Girl, it's insane what you did. It's insane what you did. Full season, like, and it's incredible. The writing is so good. Like,
thanks, man.
It's insane what you did, and that was your labor of love. I remember talking to you about this, like when I was auditioning for Jann, and you were helping me run lines.
Yeah,
helping me practice meeting Jann Arden, like, and you were like,
I got to be Jann. I was so excited. I was like, I'm Jann. I don't know why I did it like that, but she is so funny. I had a full geek out with Nilu, and Nilu was like, yeah, did you never go to one of her concerts? She does like stand-up comedy between her songs. And I was like, no, I'm an idiot. Should have done it.
Remember what you did when we practiced meeting her? When I was like, I need to practice meeting Jann Arden. Do you remember what you did?
No.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna practice. She's like, okay. You're like, okay, I'll be Jann. I'm like, okay. I was like, hi. Like, I was like, hi, so nice to meet you. And then you were like, I've got a good mind. You started singing, and then I started crying. I was like, oh my God, no, I love you so much. And you're like, no. I was like, let's try it again.
Oh man, that song was on the radio the other day. It just gives me all the feels. Like I was just weeping, singing my guts out driving. It's such a good song.
One line that makes me cry every time is, I've got a good father, and his strength is what makes me cry. That line gets me every single time.
Yeah, me too. Gets you right in the feels. It's beautiful.
I keep interrupting you.
No, it's fine. It's beautiful. I love a two-way conversation.
I know, we're just like, we haven't talked in so long. We're like, nah!
Two-way interview is the way. One thing that I don't think people will know about you as much because it's not as publicized, but relates to Avocado Toast, the series. And you touched on it in my character, Molly, while she very awkwardly fails at teaching sex ed. You were or are the creative facilitator of SExT, Sex Education by Theater. And I remember way back when you were directing a music video, I think that was for that initiative.
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh,
wondering
yeah.
if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's an initiative started by my best friend Shira, and it's youth educating other youth about sex ed. So we had this updated curriculum in 2015 that nobody knew how to taught, because oh my God, how do you teach kids consent? How does that work?
Yeah.
And so instead of having like a teacher come in and tell people about their bodies, it should be youth educating other youth as role models, talking about their experiences. So Shira went into a community, and a really wonderful principal like let her come in and said, hey, do any kids like want to talk about sex and healthy relationships? And every teacher is like, you're not going to have any kids. No kids are going to want to do this. Like, you want to talk about sex and stuff. And she like amassed so many kids. She's like, she ran out of space on the paper to like get kids to come, and because they all wanted to talk about it. And
Wow.
And so they came in like the discussions, they just all like had so much to say and questions, and they created a show based on what they learned, that involved like skits, raps, dance. I wrote an original song with one of the girls about her personal experience with domestic violence, and that was her first song she ever wrote, and now she's writing music and
Wow.
so talented. But they all had so much to say, and they learned so much, and they made these skits, and now we've like toured the show across Canada. It's even gone up to the north with a lot of communities that have never even seen theater. Like they've never had anyone, because it's in such a remote location that they're like, oh my God, a show wants to come. And like just the response from the audience, like it just encourages a conversation and gives the kids a platform to speak. And I'm so proud of it. We did 2 music videos. So one kid rewrote the lyrics of Bodak Yellow and made it Bodak Consent. And so it was like a rap video, and I like made her like I was like, girl, we gotta make a persona, we gotta pick your name. She's like, I'm Miss G. So like Miss G had a day. She was rapping about consent. The girl, like they choreographed a thing. It's amazing. That's online. And then Tunnel Vision is the original song I co-wrote with Mary Gatichu. And yeah, and they're still going even through the pandemic. Their tour, I think they were supposed to go through Manitoba, it got canceled because of the pandemic, but they've been online and doing music videos, like quarantine music videos, and
Wow.
keeping the conversation going.
That's amazing.
I'm so proud about that. Yeah.
So you succeeded a bit more than Molly in connecting with her students on sex ed. There's hope for her in season 2 if she ever gets her job back. There's hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nilu, I forgot to touch on this too. Nilu just said that that you have some really exciting things in store for season 3. That you get to dig a bit deeper into Kale, which is gonna be great.
To unpack with her, like there's a reason why she's like that this is her survival mechanism. Like, what was her early childhood trauma? I want to know. I have ideas.
What's her origin trauma?
Yeah.
Interesting. So I was just listening to your Spotify playlist, and it's beautiful. But I'm curious as to, I mean, there's this whole concept of like, if you're an actor, you can't have a backup plan. I think definitely for you, music and acting are both such huge parts of your life. But I guess I'm curious, like, how has music supported your acting career, and how has acting supported your music career? Like, your acting career is going objectively very well right now.
It's great. Yeah.
When it wasn't, did you lean more into music, or like, how do those work together?
There was never really any plan. It was kind of like, I don't know. I sort of took cues from, taking cues from the universe. There was a time when like, I just wasn't getting as much acting work. And so but then there was this other, I was like, well, maybe I have all this time to like write more music and do an album, or like maybe I'll do more gigs. even with like the acting now, like when we finish filming and I've got all this time off, like I go and I'll do a concert and sing. And it's like, it's so awesome because it's being on stage is such a, like, it's my baby. I say that, like, stages will always be my baby. Like it's, I love an audience. I love the presence of it. I love the energy, you know, and I miss it when I'm doing film. And so that's always going to be a constant, like throughout. I'll always be like, it's something to go back to. But yeah, it's kind of like I look up to Jann so much, and she's an amazing example of how she never was just a musician. Like, we know her as a musician first because that's what hit for her first. And her music is like the soundtrack of all our love lives. And, you know, but then she was like, oh, but I love like acting and comedy and the idea of it's like TV. She's so involved in Canadian television. Like, she watches everything. And so, and she like has a podcast. It's one of like the biggest podcasts in Canada. And she's a writer, and she has like these best-selling books, and she's the executive producer, like, and she does live shows and she writes. Like, it's kind of like she never just like stayed with one thing. She just always, you know, and she always said to me, like, she's like, I'm not the best. I'm not the best at singing. I'm not the best at writing. I'm not the best I'm not the best. But the difference is that I never gave up. Like, I just never gave up. And she wasn't afraid to fail. Those are the two. She never gave up, and she was never afraid to fail.
That's huge.
So that's something like I've taken with me, that like, yeah, that like the whatever you have a passion for doing. And since I was a kid, I've always had a passion for music, always had a passion for acting.
Yeah.
Like, to just like immerse yourself and like open yourself to like the universe's cues when they give you an opportunity.
Yeah.
Or when the opportunities don't happen, you go, okay, maybe I'll like shift and I'll adapt and do something else. Or maybe I'll like accept this job driving golf carts around the race car track to drive drunk people where they need to go, which is what we did.
Talking about us.
That was like the funnest job.
Yeah, work is work. I was grateful. I mean, that was a wonderful day. Got to hang out with you, pretend I was Jann Arden. Like, I was living a good,
we were at live.
Life that day.
There's something about like helping drunk people get somewhere safely. I really loved it. I had a lot of fun, and the energy was so good. Everyone was in a good mood. Yeah. You know,
it's true. We were getting paid well. Like, there was nothing to complain about.
We were getting paid really well. People were tipping us too.
Yeah, it was great. Super great.
Just driving down the road.
Okay, so you just touched on the concept of failing and not being afraid to fail. One of my questions I'm asking everyone is, in this industry, we're known for our successes. Like, there's no publicist for when things are going bad. But we often learn a lot more from our failures. I say that in quotation marks. Is there a failure when you look back that you've now become grateful for because it taught you?
Heidi, good questions. Good questions. Failure is, it's failure in whose eyes, you know? And I think the most important thing I learned, so before I booked Jann, I didn't work for a year. Like, that was a failure for me. And I kept auditioning, and I didn't book anything. And it's what I learned in that time. The thing in that time, I went and found an amazing acting studio, and I worked my ass off.
Nice.
And I developed a value system for myself, so that when I booked Jann, it was different. It wasn't like usually you book something, you go, oh my God, finally, like, I got it. Like, now I'm something. Now I'm validated. Now I'm awesome because I have this thing. Your value changes, right? You think your value changes because my value changes in the eyes of my agent. My value changes in the eyes of IMDb ratings or number of followers on Instagram. My value's now gotten better. But because of the self-work I did in that year, I was like, wow, like I booked it. That's amazing. But I'm just as talented and just as special before I booked it than I am now after I booked it. My value has not changed. And that's something you got to like figure out and build on your own. And so that was important, not just for your mental sanity, but suddenly going back on set, having to act opposite Jann Arden. Other Jason Blicker is like, he's been everywhere, like having to act with these incredible actors. And now I'm not chasing after something to prove that I belong here.
Yeah.
You know, I was there and just be like, I'm me, and I'm going to go do the work. So for me, like that's what I got out of that year before booking Jann, was building up that value system for myself.
That is huge.
Yeah.
I just had chills that entire time.
Did
that
you?
hit me, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I think that's some work that I need to do. So that was
so hard, man. Like, it's like, I say that like it's easy, but it's not easy. I struggled so much with validation, and my acting coach would be like, why do you care so much? Like, what's holding you back? And I was like, I can't let it go. I can't let it go that I need this casting director to like me, that I need my agent to feel that I'm worth like their time. Like I cannot let it go. Mm-hmm. And so it's something you have to like, and it's different for every person, whether it's like therapy or a program or coming together with a group of artists, creating a series like Avocado Toast and surrounding yourself with that kind of energy and making your own work. Yeah. For me, at that time, it was like finding an acting studio, getting called on my bullshit, and doing work like in an acting class. I was like, oh, wow, I'm bringing myself to my work and not an image of myself. I'm putting myself in my work, and it's enough. Yeah. And I'm kind of facing my own demons. And I was studying regularly, and I put trust in the process, and it was really hard. But everyone has their own way of finding that, but it's so much harder said than done.
Yeah. I think for me, working on Avocado Toast definitely helped me diversify my skills. And the stuff you said about Jann really stuck to me too, because I have never been scared of failure. I've always been fine to fail, as you said, in whose eyes. I love that. But it also just gave me some identity capital outside of acting, where I was like, oh, like I'm actually a pretty good producer. That's an incredible job. And that's in line with my personal goals to pass the mic to other people, to amplify stories that I think are really important. I want to see stories that I haven't seen before. I want to see stories that I haven't seen. As soon as I get that and I'm watching something, I'm like, oh, I'm just glued to the television, because I want the experiences that I haven't had, you know? And as a producer, you can do that. You're in charge of the money and who's getting paid and who's getting hired. And that's incredibly empowering. But I'm still sort of like struggling with this, like, do I still want to be acting thing? But but there's so many roads to roam. There's so many different ways for everybody, and all of our paths are unique. So
dude, like that will never go away. Like, I'm on a series right now, and you asked my husband last time, I was just like, why did I pick this job? I'm like, why did I pick this? Like, it's so hard, and the rejection level is so high, and it gets at you. Like, even through this pandemic, I've been auditioning a lot. I'll especially on tape. Everything is like being submitted on tape, so it's even more work. Like, you have to invest in like a good light and like set it up and edit it. Yeah. And then you do so many in a row and you don't hear back. And it just, every actor like feels that way. It's just like, oh, like, what's the point?
Yeah. I don't even audition very much, but for some reason right now I am, and I have to do my first Zoom call back today, which I am not looking forward to.
Oh man. So weird.
Hard. It's so weird. Like, where do I look? I don't know. And I'm going to be learning.
Hey, tip, make sure you pin the reader. Pin the reader so that they're in the big screen and you're acting with the reader. Like, pin your reader. Okay. I was asked to do a Zoom call, a Zoom audition, and they were like, because of our setup, you can't pin the reader, so you're going to be acting with like the video of yourself. If that's distracting, maybe like look away from the computer. And I'm like, you want me to act like this high stakes dramatic scene where I'm going to kill someone?
Looking at my own face.
Am I looking at myself? Do you want me to fail? I was like, why can't I pin the reader? I was like, no, absolutely not. I was just like, and I think young Elena would just be like, oh, okay, and then go in and suck. Yeah. But I was like, with a high stakes, like high drama, like scene, like that's gonna suck. Like I'll send them a tape. Like I'm gonna just do it instead of like going into the Zoom.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like some of the things is just like, please set me up for success.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
What is this?
Yes. And and if actors don't voice things like that, then sometimes production just doesn't think of it, be like, because they're thinking of 9,000 other things.
Mm-hmm.
It takes someone to be like, this is going to influence the art of the moment and make it suck.
Yes. So. And absolutely. That's a Kale. This is a Kale moment.
Yes.
This is a Kale teaching moment, right? That I'm learning from is that I recognize these things where I'm just like, oh, before I would just be like, okay, like, thank you so much. I love your show. Yeah. But now I'm just like, no, I know, because you know what you need. I think that's what it is. Also, as you like more experience you get, and the older you get, I know what I need to do my best work. Yeah, and it's not about being a diva. It's like, you know, and I think it's a very Canadian thing to be like, oh, I'm being a diva, like asking for these things. But no, like we all want to do our best work, and so it's knowing what to ask for. Yeah,
and it's about, as long as what you're asking for is what's best for the project and the show and the story, it's fine.
Exactly.
As long as everyone's putting that first.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for this beautiful chat and for your time.
This is awesome.
It's been so nice to talk to you. You guys can find links to everything about Elena below and to all of her social handles. Thank you so much, Elena. This was a really great time.
Thanks, Heidi. This was fun. Love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening.
And thank you to Ontario Creates for the support to make Avocado Toast the Series podcast possible. You can pick your player to watch all 10 episodes of Avocado Toast the Series at www.avocadotoasttheseries.com.
We'd also love to give a huge shout out to Russell Lauder for the use of their beautiful song, Cost of Living. You can find more of their music sprinkled throughout the episodes of our web series, as well as on Spotify, Bandcamp, and iTunes. And links to their social media is in our show notes.